hardcore Puerto Rican, strong, don't mess with me or my family type of dude embedded in me. But then I had this strong lady, educated, do everything with your heart, love people as much as you love yourself.
You don't have to. At what expense? That's good you're able to get it, but like it can be this.
Beers, working out, no emotion, no vulnerability, being bad at giving gifts, toxic masculinity, or shall we say in the culture, machismo. Machis! As you know, your boy Eli is all about dissecting that vulnerability.
You guys all here talk about vulnerability when it comes to men. As you know, I threw you guys in a video about saying I love you.
Yeah.
So I love you, man. I love you.
With everything that's been happening socially in the world, now more than ever is a time to have critical conversations. And this topic is no different. Well, just FYI, it's not gonna be one of those videos. You know, like one of those videos where you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna bash on dudes and bash on men. It's not about that. So I'm gonna go on a journey and I'm gonna talk to some dear friends, some people that inspire me, that completely focus their work on this issue, on this topic. And it's all gonna accumulate to me having a sit-down, one-on-one conversation with my father. So let's get in it, y'all. First person I'm gonna be talking to is Kat Lazo. She's a producer, on-camera personality. She created a platform that is all about men calling out men, having real, open conversations with different men. And this is something I've been wanting to talk to her a lot about and hear her perspective and a female perspective of what brought her to create a platform for men.
Kat Lazo, how's it going? This is the energy we're setting for this interview.
How did that all come about of you know, creating a space for men to have these conversations? Like what was the formation like and why did you ultimately make the decision to do it?
The Unpacking Men IG challenge came after basically COVID, right? Once we were all quarantined, I started realizing that a lot of people, and by people I mean women and like non-cis men, were gravitating towards Instagram. And almost every day I was seeing a whole new in Instagram live. And it made me start thinking about, you know, where's the representation, where's the content that speaks to cis hetero men, you know, working on themselves. Another reason why I created the Unpacking Men IG challenge was because I saw how exhausted many women of color in my life were expressing.
Like once you launched it, how was it received? What were some of the results? Like what was the experience like?
Men with a lot of visibility would probably be the ones to take on the challenge. But it was actually opposite of that. It was like, you know, cis hetero men who had like, let's say 300 followers on Instagram. The guy at the bodega, our tío, our cousin, you know, who don't have a spotlight on them, like that's where the real work needs to happen. One suggestion I give is that you focus on yourself, that the conversation not be about other men, but that it be about you. You know, oh, I hate it when men catcall. I don't like catcalling because it's gross, man. That's not what the challenge is about. It's about you addressing yourself and unpacking toxic masculinity within yourself.
I don't know. It's like I try to explain it when it comes to like talking about toxic masculinity, emotions, like vulnerability. It's like there's this uncomfortability because it's like this, you don't have any experience with it. You're just like, I don't know what to do with my hands or talk about it. And it's like, but once you kind of get the ball rolling, it's like, I don't know, men are very emotional people. Like we're very emotional.
Well, that's the thing, Eli, is that I think we've been told, you all have been robbed of your emotions because we're sold the lie that men aren't emotional and that it's women who are emotional, when really emotions just belong to humans.
Right.
So for now, the challenge was only for 1 week, and within that week we had like over, I think, 35 conversations among men, and it's continued. And I think that is what I hope, is that folks continue having the conversations regardless of a deadline, and that they have the conversations both privately and publicly, because there's a huge value in having these conversations privately, but other men also need to see examples of it in the public space in order to encourage them, to inspire them, to support them, and also to educate them, right? For them to be educated from other cis hetero men.
The next conversation I'm about to do is with Richie Reseda. Now, I'm a little nervous. I just saw a CNN documentary on his life, on what he's about, just how he was this artsy kid who was into the Spice Girls that, fell into patriarchy, fell into this toxic masculinity, fell into growing up in the hood, essentially, and having to survive and getting into trouble through his teenage years, to finally, when he hit 19, he got to the point where he got 150 to life. So his story has been impactful of what he's been able to do. He created a feminist workshop called Success Stories, and it has now blown up with coaches working with people in prisons, and it was started by him and one other person when they were in their 20s. I'm very excited to dive in and talk to this guy and hear his mindset and hear what it's all about, to better prepare me to talk to my dad.
With Success Stories, you guys are growing. That's freaking awesome. What were some of the success stories with Success Stories?
I mean, so many things. I mean, for us to have started February 2014, by that summer, we were recognized by the California government for our contributions to public safety. The fact that Success Stories, for participating in Success Stories now, people in California prisons can earn time off their sentences, which is something that we got to help fight for. I think it's a success that I'm really proud of.
What was like kind of your trial and error way? Like, did it work out off the bat your first session, or was there a way you had to kind of get around those emotional walls, essentially, when men hear these things?
It took a while for us to figure out how to do it in a way that worked. It wasn't about teaching men about patriarchy. That wasn't helpful. What we learned is that when we are vulnerable about our own patriarchy, it invites other men to be the same. And from there, we can have a conversation that leads to growth.
What is that perspective like, being out in society and knowing the issues with the society? Like, you were inside for so long and knew that this was an issue, but now you're out. I'm sure you're on social media. I'm sure you see all the various degrees of toxic masculinity. Like, what is your perception and how do you move in these different spaces, knowing that, like, what you know now, doing that research and work, that
this has been our culture since before I went to jail. So I wasn't surprised, and just treat shit like, yo, this is regular and we're trying to make something new regular. Like right now, patriarchy is regular and we're trying to make integrity and freedom and liberation regular. And
now, like, so like with me, per se, like I have a lot of toxic men in my family, per se, like, which is why it was so hard for me to like connect with men, even to this day. Like I feel a little awkward. Like,
we have to be humble and talk to folks from the perspective of like, I am you. So I'm not above you. I'm not talking to you because I'm enlightened and you are not. I am you. I have been patriarchal, and maybe not the same exact ways as you, but I have also been patriarchal. And now I'm just going to talk to you across the table, just regular. And I'm going to use regular language. When you say that, what is it that you're really saying? What is it that you mean? Why are you saying that? Where did you learn that from? Like, those are questions, as opposed to you shouldn't do this, you should do this, right? And I don't know if even like saying something like, there are toxic men in my family, I don't know if that's the most helpful language either. Because they are not toxic, right? They are people. Their behavior can be toxic. And I don't want to seem like I'm splitting hairs, but I think it is important, like, especially as an abolitionist, that we understand that a person is not their behavior. A person gets to choose their behavior. And we can encourage them to make new choices. But when we relegate somebody, this person is toxic, they are racist, they are this, that's going to affect how I see you, which is going to affect how I show up, which is going to affect how you receive me, which is going to affect how you respond, and we might get trapped.
What is the ideal future that you perceive and see that you want with
the work that you're doing?
I envision a world where patriarchy and revenge are not the norm. Like, our conversation with patriarchy is like 50 to 100 years behind our conversation about racism. And I'm trying to build a world where revenge isn't the norm. Right now, it's really hard for us to envision what justice is without revenge. If you hit me, I gotta hit you back. If you break the law or do something harmful to somebody, gotta go to prison. We gotta hurt you somehow because you hurt somebody else. And actually those things don't help us move forward. They don't help us heal. I would love to see a world where justice is seen as healing instead of revenge.
Gonna have the convo with my father, and with all the conversations that I've had with my friends and the perceptions, it's still scary. A little nervous because I never really opened up in this way with him, but it's necessary.
Well, first off, hi. Thanks for being here and jumping on another video call with me. How did you grow up? What was your vision of, like, you know, with your dad? Like,
It was tough. It was really tough. It was really tough. It probably, honestly, it probably scars me to this day. Grew up like that, even though, you know, I know he loved me and stuff like that, but I seen a lot of his pride. I couldn't really talk to him too. So, and if I got scolded, I couldn't look at him. He made me look down on the ground and stuff, and it broke me down when I even grew older. I got hit most every day. I had to be almost perfect. If I spilled a glass of water, I probably got hit. And my father was a good husband. You know, he was a good husband to my mom, but he was just.
Was he a good caregiver or was he a good husband? I think that's probably.
He was a good caregiver. Yeah, he was a good caregiver. Husband, nah.
What's interesting is, like, just hearing that narrative and that's it's so common, especially in, like, Latino households. Is there's generations of just baggage that people are carrying that they are not dealing with. Like, Grandpa dealt with all that pain and he didn't deal with it properly, and the expense of that was Grandma. The expense of that, the symptom of that, who got to feel those symptoms was Grandma, was you, was, you know, Titi, was, you're still dealing with the trauma, what he's dealt with before that. And because growing up with you as a dad, you were definitely an enforcer. You were frightening. I gotta be honest. You were completely and utterly intimidating and frightening to me.
I lost the relationship with my boys because I didn't want them to disrespect your mom. So if I had to be the bad guy, so be it. Because I did not want them to say, forget you, mom, F you, mom, forget that. I wanted her, because I knew I wasn't going to be in Eli's life, EJ's life like that. I knew it. So I had to take it, go old school like my father. I lost a lot of time because of it, because you guys didn't know how to talk to me, and I didn't know how to talk to you guys because of it, because I only knew one way. I showed you love and everything like that, but not like how I should have. But I knew I was going to be there. So that's why I had to do what I had to do. And would I change it? Yeah, I probably would change it a little bit. I always wish I would have met my grandfather, my father's father. Not because I wanted to meet him, like, yes, but I wanted to meet him to ask him, why did you do that to my dad?
There is no justification of what my great-grandfather did. Like, he probably did it because his dad is probably even worse.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it's like, it's trauma on trauma on trauma on trauma. And maybe it's like less calories, but it's still bad for you. And so it's like, maybe we're at Coke Zero now, but it's still a Coke. And, you know, because I mean, I felt it too. I mean, I felt the brunt of it, and you're aware of that too. And our relationship is a lot better now. I'm not toxic in the sense where it's like, think I'm the shit, machismo, don't talk to me, I'm just gonna fix your car, whatever. But I did lack vulnerability in connecting with people. And was really selfish for a really long time. And that's something I'm working on now, but I think that's a product of that.
And I was selfish from even to myself, to my family, to my kids. I was selfish. And there's a lot of guys way more selfish than I am. And I see it. Hardcore, Puerto Rican, strong, don't mess with me or my family type of dude embedded in me. But then I had this strong lady, educated, do everything with your heart, love people as much as you love yourself. So I had those two worlds that helped me a lot. I mean,
you don't have to, you know, at what expense? You know, like, I was able to, I'm like, that's good you're able to get it, but like, it can be this. We can have both. Like, we don't have to have a trail of tears that leads to inevitable understanding. I think that's what I kind of realized from all this. Whoever Eli the Third is, you know, I
hopefully soon.
I'm gonna do my best to use this. So there isn't that trail.
Every time I got locked up a few times and stuff, and a few times I should have, I should not, but I did. But most of the time, because it was the anger. It was anger. I had anger. I had a temper, and it's what I saw, and I held a lot of stuff in, and I took it on people. And I got locked up for it, and I went to counseling.
You never wanted to keep talking to somebody in that presence? Do you think it would benefit you even to this day to talk to someone in that presence?
Oh, I would love to talk to somebody right now.
I mean, there's a great resource, Latinx Therapy, where they specifically, like, it's an online directory, super simple, where it's all Latin. So I would love to set that up for you, Dad, if you would like.
Yeah,
I mean,
send me a link. It don't hurt.
I love you, and I appreciate our relationship, and thank you for being open to have this conversation, because I know a lot of dads aren't. I love you, Dad.
Appreciate it. Oh, I love you too. Thank you for everything. You open up a lot of things, kind of, I don't know. Yeah. But thanks.
Of course. I'm gonna send you that, because I know you got to open up a little bit. So I'm gonna ride on that momentum, and I'm gonna send you some links to Latinx Therapy so you can check it out.
Thank you. I love you, son.
All right, love you too, Dad.
All the conversations that I had with Kat, all the conversations I had with Richie, it all accumulated to this conversation with my father, and how it affected him going to prison, how it affected him, hurting other people and physically and emotionally, and my grandfather hurting people physically and emotionally, and my great-grandfather. I don't want to keep that going. I don't want to have the what ifs or the should haves. I want open communication with my future son and all the men around me. You gotta, because it's negatively affecting others and themselves from living a full human life.